The meeting is now streaming live on YouTube. Woohoo! You need to unmute yourself, Elaine. I've muted you. Sorry.
Could you see that streaming?
No, it says to me. It
oh, there. Okay, I had it on a big screen. You can release your video order here. I've come off of it, haven't I?
Okay, so I've got it live on YouTube at the moment. I'm recording. It is 7 o'clock, and I will make a start very shortly. I'm just checking there's nobody else.
I'm delayed. Somehow I'm being delayed.
In the waiting room. It's delayed in what way do you mean, Elaine? Elaine, you've muted yourself again. Are you? There you go.
I know. I'm muted because I'm on a delay. So I'm talking now, but you don't hear me for a few minutes.
I can hear you now.
No, I haven't. I'm there.
Well, you're there. You're there. You are delayed, probably. So we'll make a start with the meeting if Elaine is there and doing it. Okay.
I'm not speaking.
So, okay. So thank you for attending tonight's full council meeting of Tuesday, the 2nd of March. We'll start off with members' apologies for absence. Elaine, do we have any apologies for absence? Elaine, can you hear me?
Go on again.
Elaine?
Yes, we do. We have Councillor Ben Molyneux Hetherington, Councillor Patel and Councillor Bullen.
Okay.
Yes, I'm speaking, but it's delayed.
Okay, no, we can hear you. Okay, so, okay, thank you for that. Are we happy to accept those apologies? Take that as a yes. Okay, that's a yes from everybody. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, to receive members' declarations of interest. We obviously have the standing declaration of interest from Councillor Hepworth. Any other declarations of interest from anybody? Take that as a no. Excellent. I shall move on to Mayor's announcements. Councillor Pyatt has sadly informed me that a former councillor, David Sutton, has sadly passed away. So I'd like to express our condolences from the Town Council to his family and remember the contribution he made to the town. So I'd like to ask for us to participate in a minute's silence, if that's okay. Elaine, would you be able to do that for us, please? Elaine, did you hear that? Okay, good. So let us know when we need to stop. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you very much for that. Okay. The other Mayor's announcement that I have is just to remind councillors that the Zoom policy will come into force. That was the policy that we agreed at last month's meeting. Will come into force from next month. So we are live streaming this evening as a practice run. And we will then be taking questions that are submitted by members of the public only into our meetings, and those members of the public can come in and ask their questions as normal, and all the other public participation will take part via live stream. So it was just to kind of let councillors know that that will be taking place, and as you've seen on the agenda for this week meeting, it does say about the questions being submitted in writing, and as you all seen, today on our website, it does say that all of the meetings going forward will be live streamed, and the link to the YouTube channel is on the website, and it will be put out on all of the agendas as well going forward. So that's all I have under Mayor's announcements. Okay, agenda item number 4, to confirm the eligibility and validity of councillors. It saddens me that I feel the need to put this on the agenda this evening. As you know, our councillor has been questioning the validity of our councillors, both within emails internally and on social media. And despite us furnishing that councillor with the evidence that all of our councillors are lawfully here, he doesn't believe that to be the case. So for a matter of public record, I'm here tonight to say unreservedly that all of our councillors are in fact legal and have the right to be at the full council meeting. And I have spoken to the monitoring officer in relation to this, and she has confirmed that she is happy with our arrangements, and actually the governance of the town council does not fall into her remit. So I did have a conversation with her. So this is just to confirm this evening that all of those councillors are legal and lawfully here. And going forward, I would ask Councillor Lawson that he desist from posting further comments on social media, and I would also ask that going forward he includes those councillors in his emails that he sends around the councils, because it's against the code of conduct that he is currently missing those councillors off any circulations going forward. So thank you for that. Agenda item number 5, to approve the minutes of the full council meeting 2nd of February 2021. So you've all had these sent round. Are there any amendments to the one dated the 2nd of February? No. Can I get a proposer for those minutes, please? Councillor Groom, and I'll take Councillor Hendry as my seconder. All those in favour of the full council minutes? Okay, and that's the 2nd of February. That's everybody. Thank you very much. And then we move over to the extraordinary meeting of the 16th of February. Again, these have been circulated. Any comments or amendments to those meeting minutes? No, can I get a proposer for those as well, please?
Willow.
Okay, Councillor Willow. Okay, and a seconder, I had Councillor Pickering. All of those in favour? Again, that is Frank. Was that a yes?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, your hand was too quick for me.
You didn't count me last time, so it don't matter.
I got your hand last time. Oh, you've moved.
So how'd you get that?
I thought you had. You've moved. Okay, you're there. So everybody's in favour.
In the same house.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Okay. And matters arising from those minutes. Does anybody have any matters arising from those minutes? Councillor Hendry, you need to unmute yourself.
In the last meeting, Councillor Lawson was instructed to apologise for rudeness to electors. And I wondered if we know whether he has actually done this.
It's my understanding that he hasn't done that. He suggested that he didn't know who to contact, but we have said if he would like to contact myself, I will give him the details of the individual involved. But he also agreed at that meeting that he would make a full apology on social media, and it's my understanding that that hasn't happened yet, unless any of my colleagues could tell me otherwise who frequent social media more than I do, but it's my understanding that that hasn't happened yet.
Is there anything we can do about this?
I don't think so. I know that we've suggested the complainant goes to the monitoring officer, and I believe that they have done that, and I think we can just ask Councillor Lawson where he is with that when he attends the meeting, or if he joins us later this evening.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, that's okay. Any other matters arising? Frank, Councillor Damon?
Sorry, I'm getting confused with something else.
Okay, no worries. I've just got a matter arising. At the last full council meeting, the one in February, we had a member of the public who asked a question, and I directed the clerk to give him a written reply. Unfortunately, he didn't provide or hasn't provided any contact details, or he kind of left the meeting without giving those, and he hasn't been in touch subsequently with the clerk. So if he is listening this evening, if he would like to get in touch with the clerk, then we will be able to provide that written response as directed at the last meeting. Anything else from matters arising this evening? Okay. Nope. I will move on. Okay, to adjourn the meeting for public participation and consideration of written reports and written questions. This will be, well, tonight was going to be the last opportunity that we would take verbal reports from the councillors and from members of the public. As we adopted the Zoom guidelines last month, going forward, all questions will be in writing, and the borough councillors, as some of our borough councillors already do, will submit the report in writing prior to the meeting to enable councillors to read it and digest it and then ask subsequent questions. So I'll start with County Council report from Councillor Tony White. He's not here this evening, and I don't think we've had a report from him. Elaine, have we?
I haven't seen one, no.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on. Borough Councillors reports and questions. We've had a report from Councillor Radcliffe, who was circulated earlier. Any questions for Councillor Radcliffe about that report? Yep. Jackie?
An observation, please, Councillor Radcliffe. I noticed in the report you were commenting on the flooding situation that you were investigating in Mill Lane, I believe. Can you send those details to myself and Councillor Hendry, because as part of the neighbourhood plan, we are tracking, plotting sort of local incidents of flooding. Of course, the borough are repeatedly saying that Downham is not at any risk of flooding, yet we know through quite substantial anecdotal evidence that that is now not the case. And I think also, Madam Mayor, for the record, I would still like Councillor Andrew to actually send me the details of the flooding situations that he was dealing with. To date, I haven't received it. So all I would say is, can I please have details, or can Councillor Hendry and myself please have details, so that we can actually build quite an accurate map of what the flooding situation is like in Downham. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, I will. Thank you very much. I'll write that up for you.
Councillor Damon?
Can I thank Councillor Radcliffe for taking that on board, please?
Yep.
Mill Lane.
Thank you, Councillor Damon.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Councillor Radcliffe? I just had one, and it's kind of a bit for kind of Josie and a bit for Elaine, really. It was really helpful to see the numbers and the volunteering websites that you put on the bottom of your report. And I'm not sure if we have all of those on our website, and I think it might be helpful if we don't have them, whether we could kind of update the website to include those volunteering websites and the numbers that Josie included in her report. Elaine, is that possible, please?
We do put whoever sends in a report does get put on the website,
yeah.
But we'll do them as extra links in a different bit.
Yeah, that would be really
well.
helpful, because
Yeah.
I think the volunteering one and the numbers to call is really useful at the moment, you know, in light of the extra people shielding. I think that's really helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Any other questions for Councillor Radcliffe? Nope, I can't see any. Thank you very much. It looked like you've been really busy according to your report and going out with Councillor Hepworth and stuff. So thank you for that, and thank you for attending this evening. That was really helpful.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Public participation. We haven't had any questions in from the public as requested. As there are a couple of members of the public here this evening, as it's the last chance before we go to the new system, I will offer up to members of the public if they wish to ask a question. If they wish to, then raise your little hand icon or put your camera on. I'll take that as a
Can't see anybody.
no then. Okay, if nobody wishes to ask a question, I shall move on and resume the meeting. Agenda item number 7 is to discuss and agree a response to the planning application 19-02216/DISC-E, whatever you want to say. That is on the Borough Council website, although I have got the wording for that planning application here, and it does relate to the Starbucks and the McDonald's restaurant which is being built. So for those of you who haven't read or had chance to read it, condition 19 of the planning application says that no fixed plant and or machinery shall come into operation until details of the fixed plant and machinery serving the development hereby permitted, and any mitigation measures to achieve this condition are submitted to and approved in writing by the local planning authority. The rating level of the sound emitted from the site shall not exceed 50 decibels, and between 7 and 11 hours and 39 decibels at all other times. The sound level shall be determined by measurement or calculation at a point to be agreed in writing by the local planning authority. The measurements and assessment shall be made according to BS 4142-2014. So we did try to get hold of the planners to find out more information about that, but as far as I'm concerned, I would be concerned, and I'll hand over to kind of Frank as Chair of Planning in a minute, if they were discharged from that condition, as it does set out their obligations in terms of noise and disruption and machinery going onto the site. But I will open it up for others for their thoughts and comments on that. Councillor Pyatt.
On that issue, you can't really pass this until you look at conditions 5 and 6 on their written report, which says exactly what you said. Prior to commencement of development, hereby permitted the off-site highways improvements works referred in condition 5 of this consent shall be completed to the written satisfaction of the local planning authority. So they're saying all the works outside must be done on the highways before they're allowed any vehicles on there, yet they're working on there at the moment and pulling trees down.
Yeah,
they're breaking the rules already, or I know the enforcement officer is aware of it, and the way they're pulling them trees down is a disgrace. But the conditions are written down here in condition on 5 and 6, and they've broke that already, but they must now be stopped until they do 5 and 6. If that's right, Frank, with the planning hat on.
Yeah,
okay. Thanks, Councillor Pyatt. Councillor Damon, did you have anything to say about
well,
that?
the other thing, I mean, I've gone up there and I want to know why they're stopping birds nesting in the trees at the opposite side of the road. Why they've covered it all in netting. All the green.
So do you want me to come in on that, Becky? Because we did have complaints and we did research it and we went backwards and forwards to the borough. And what they actually, and I know Becky had some phone calls over the weekend she might want to share, but the reason they have done it is because those trees are due to be pulled down. So they don't want the birds to be nesting in it before they pull it down. So that's why the nets went on, so that the nest didn't go in when they pull them down in quite near future. That's what they've said.
Yeah, and just to update you, I had a phone call late Saturday evening from the police to inform me that the netting had been removed from the trees and a note left on the netting alongside the trees. and the police were looking into that. So I'm not sure if the netting has been reinstated, but certainly at the weekend it had been taken off the trees.
Was that been taken off by someone who had no authority to do that?
I believe so, Councillor Damon, and I think that's why the police were looking into the matter, and I believe there was a note left.
Okay.
With
I also understand they're going to remove and throw away our plant pot.
Yeah, I mean, I've now, just to come back to that, because obviously it was raised by a resident, I've now got the man narrowed down to who he is with his mobile number, which is like a McDonald's agent really. And I kept trying him today, and I'll keep trying tomorrow, but they can't remove it. They've got to put it somewhere else. That's ridiculous, isn't it?
Well, no, they just said they're going to lose it, but
yeah, well, I don't think that'll happen.
That's not quite, because it's not the council's property, it's our property.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's there by licence of Norfolk County Council. Same with the sign.
We seem to have kind of lost Elaine at the moment, but I will
yeah, okay.
carry on. We'll kind of look into that for you, Councillor Damon. Any other comments on the agenda item number 7 in terms of discharging and their thoughts on it? Jenny, was that a comment? You need to unmute yourself. That's it.
It's a big company, isn't it? And basically they're trying to get away with things that they shouldn't be getting away with. And I think we need to be extremely vigilant and not let them get away with anything. You know, there are quite clear conditions there, and they are not, and they're not abiding by them. And just because they're a big company is no excuse, I'm afraid. They're just, well, they're taking significant advantage, I'm afraid.
Yep, thank you, Councillor Graham. I've got Councillor Damon, and I've got Councillor Hepworth, and then Councillor Westrop. Councillor Damon.
Right, one of the things I'm going to pick up, they've actually put in an application for charging points on the site. Right, I'm a bit concerned about these charging points, because apparently they push out a voltage up to 1,000 volts, and people are going to be holding that in their hand in the form of a plug. So I'm a bit concerned about that. Rated at 78 amps. I think that's a lot less than what they use in America to execute people.
Thank you for that, Councillor Damon.
So I'm a bit concerned about that. I'm in total agreement of charging points in the town. I've nothing against that at all. But they don't say whether they're going to have to pay to use it or not.
Okay. So maybe that's a question that when we finally get hold of McDonald's, we could.
McDonald's should be really talking to
ask them.
They never have.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Damon. Councillor Hepworth.
I can't see any reason at all why they should be relieved of complying with the planning condition, which appears to be designed to control the noise levels, which is a nuisance to local residents. And I think a lot of people just didn't appreciate what this development would really involve. People are apparently shocked at the impending destruction of the trees. They're finding it hard to believe that those trees on the roundabout are actually, on the approach to town, are actually marked for cutting down and felling. And we can't possibly, as Councillor Groom says, let them get away with pushing the boundaries all the time. These conditions, such as they are, need to be enforced. There's already a lot of destruction, environmental destruction involved in the development, and we can't allow it to get worse.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Hepworth. Well said. Councillor Westrop.
Yes, I mean, I agree with both Councillors Groom and Councillor Hepworth. I think if we're actually objecting to this, which quite clearly we should, just picking up a sort of point that was in Councillor Ratcliffe's report, where it was clear that when things go through the sifting panel, the wishes of parish councils when they object to things, aren't being actually taken into account. And when this matter actually does go forward, basically, that one of our borough councillors, and particularly the borough councillor for that ward, actually calls the matter in so that it is looked at full committee and perhaps not actually put through on the nod.
Yeah. Thanks, Councillor Westrop. Okay, Councillor Groom, I've got you again.
Yeah. I just also I think we need to emphasise too, in any dealings with this plan, that this actual part of Bexwell Road is a gateway into our town, and you know our gateway is being destroyed, and I think that needs to be factored in, and I think Borough need to be really aware of that and sensitive to that fact, because you know otherwise the sort of the entrance into the town is going to become very unwelcoming.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Pickering.
Am I unmuted myself?
No, we can hear you.
I think from what has already been said, the fact that the developers are taking already action which they shouldn't be taking, and the Borough Council are doing nothing about it, it seems to imply that once again the Borough Council have decided to let them get on with it. And as has just been said, it looks to me like they'll probably disregard our comments again. So I hope it can be brought to the attention of the Borough Council pretty quickly that these people are treating it almost as if it's a gateway to McDonald's rather than a gateway to Downham Market, and that's not acceptable. And they need to comply with they need to be made to comply with the conditions which are in place.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Councillor Damond.
Right, and the other thing I wish to point out, with all this lighting and that they're putting on there, it's going to be a hell of a distraction for people coming from the south and approaching Bexwell roundabout. I think it's a distraction for drivers. I think it's dangerous.
Okay.
Okay.
We can
thanks, Dan.
comment on the.
Okay, I've got Councillor Pyatt, I've got you. You just need to unmute yourself.
Becky,
it happens. I think we ought to stick to the conditions that they were talking about rather than putting other things in. Let's stick to what the question was asked on number 7 and answer it with 5 and 6 and say that we cannot accept anything without the conditions of 5 and 6 being put in place.
I think, to be fair, we need to just, if you're not happy with the discharge of condition 19, that's what we need to go back to, because that's all you're being asked on this application.
Well, that is part of it.
I don't agree with it, which I started to reboot or something, so I don't know, but from what I've heard,
so I think kind of
to
sum it up, I think we kind of propose that in a second I'll make a proposition that we don't agree to let them discharge that condition, and I think subsequent to that we raise a separate perhaps concern with them and maybe with the Borough Council about our concerns around the way that the development is taking place and the fact that you know, to our mind they're not being observant in sticking to the conditions that are currently in place. So I think what's come out tonight is there's 2 issues that potentially need addressing, that we deal with the question under section sort of 19 and whether we'll deal with that, and then equally that we perhaps raise the other issues with the planners. Elaine? I
suggest perhaps we ask Josie to take it back. She's the Borough Councillor here. And it's in her ward, so, and I have spoken to her a bit about trees. She's disappeared. There she is. So she might want to take those bits back as well. Might be helpful.
Are you happy to do that, Josie? That's really helpful.
Yeah, there was a hand.
Yeah, thank you very much. So let's go back to the kind of question in terms of to discuss and agree the response to the planning application. So the proposition this evening would be that we do not agree to the discharge of that condition as a town council.
I'll second that.
Okay, and I've got Councillor Groom seconding that. All those in favour of that proposition? Okay.
Everybody, I think.
That's everybody. Yep, I've got Frank. Yep, lovely. Thank you very much. And then we'll take those other matters forward. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 8, to discuss the continuing abuse of staff and councillors and a strategy to deal with this. So I'm going to kind of hand over in a second to some of my other councillor colleagues, but it's my understanding that a councillor has been continuing to bully and harass and be abusive towards staff, both on social media and in emails. And I understand that there was an incident at another public meeting of the council last week, at which I was not at, where their behaviour disrupted the meeting and is preventing us from doing council business, because actually these meetings are about getting council business done in the most effective manner possible. And I would kind of remind councillors that you are bound by the code of conduct, which says that we should be treating people with respect and with dignity, and you know, you should be mindful of what you say and how those things come across to people. But that sadly seems to be not happening in our meetings. So, you know, I wanted to kind of bring this evening to see what other councillors felt about that and to see what they suggest going forward, because we did have to resort to our standing orders and section 2 of our standing orders, which is disorderly conduct at meetings. And to my knowledge of 10 years of being a councillor, we've never had to go down that route before. And I'm actually quite horrified that we had to go down that route and remove a councillor from the meeting because of their disruptive behaviour that shouldn't take place in a council meeting. So that's kind of my kind of summary of things. I'll hand it over to other councillors. To Councillor Pickering, I've got you. You need to unmute.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, it was a Finance Committee meeting last week when the clerk was in the process of answering a question submitted by another councillor, and all of a sudden the councillor who is continually disrupting things shouted liar, or lies to be more specific. There was an altercation with him. The clerk denied that she was lying. A fellow councillor came, who was at the meeting that was being discussed, confirmed that the clerk had not lied. The councillor was not at that meeting, so he couldn't possibly know the answer. He was asked why he was saying it, and said he was told by a certain person. He refused to name that person and demanded that the clerk produce evidence that she hadn't lied. In the end, it was disrupting the meeting, and as the Mayor has already said, we weren't getting anywhere, and the word liar or lies was being repeated time and time again. I gave the councillor the opportunity to apologise and to agree that he would not continue with vexatious and disorderly conduct, but he wouldn't answer. So in the end, a resolution was proposed and passed that he be excluded, well, removed to the waiting room, which we did. I'm sorry we had to do that, but as the Mayor has already said, the meetings are there to discuss council business and not for members of the council or members of staff or members of the public, if they've been there, and it was a public meeting, to be subjected to that sort of harassment and bullying. So that's what happened, and I'm sorry I had to be the person that did it. And as you say, it hasn't happened before, and I'd like to think it doesn't happen again, but I don't know.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Pickering, for that summary. Councillor Woodman.
I was the other councillor who was called rather aggressively, actually, let's be honest, a liar. I don't think Alan should be sorry about anything. If anything, we were very considered in our response. We could have responded far quicker. It needed to be done. It was an outrageous situation, and we shall be prepared to do that in future if we have anything like that happen again. It's not only that, he's recently named me in a public forum Facebook post where he said Joe Woodman, one of the main movers in the anti-market group in DMTC. These are lies going out there with my name attached. He's calling me a liar. It's discrediting me as an individual, as a councillor, as well as other councillors and staff he's affecting. It affects the council as a whole. It affects the council badly. And I see no reason to apologise for handling his behaviour in the way that we did. I wish we'd been able to do it sooner.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Woodman. Any other questions or comments on Councillor Hendry?
I'm just hoping that in future we will be much quicker than we were at that meeting, because I was there too. And I think that part of it is that you have something like that happen and you go into shock, because it's unbelievable that anybody should behave in such an unpleasant and unruly manner. And yeah, I hope that from now on, if he starts anything like that, we will instantly tell him to be quiet or go.
Yeah.
And the faster we do it, the better, because actually we have a duty of care to the clerk, and he is making it really difficult for us to perform that duty. And yeah, I think that we should be putting in a complaint about this to both the police and the monitoring officer.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Henry. Councillor Westrop.
Yes, I think it's that is an extremely sad thing to hear, but it's I think the only thing that surprises me is that it hadn't come sooner, because I think what one would need to reflect on is that those comments did not come out of the blue. They were a part of a pattern of behaviour that has now gone on for some considerable time. And although I think that that comment is a deterioration in that pattern, I think we can all note that there's been a long history of bullying and inaccurate comments on social media. There's been a lot of unsolicited emails in a similar vein, which contain bullying comments, re the clerk and the staff, and making wholly unacceptable comments about his colleagues, basically. I, for one, in the last email, do not actually recognise the fact that I'm presiding over a kangaroo court in a Ku Klux Klan fashion. Those kind of comments are sort of completely insulting, basically. And my view of it is really, at the end of the day, is that we have given this particular councillor a lot of latitude that we would not have given an employee. And I do not know of any other employment situation where such a pattern of behaviour would have gone unremarked and uncensored. We can, all of us, do without it, really, at the end of the day, because we've got a lot of serious issues to address and a lot of work that actually needs to be doing, and actually having to deal with this day in, day out, both personally and professionally, is a hindrance to this council. So I second, in some senses, well, not in some senses, I second Councillor Hendry's view, really, that actually any further behaviour of the like should be treated in exactly the same way as it was treated in the Finance Committee, and that actually this council actually sort of censured that behaviour because we don't need it. We absolutely don't need it.
Thank you, Councillor Westrop. I've got Councillor Pickering.
Oh, hang on.
Yep, you are unmuted.
Can I just be clear? I'm not sorry that I did it. I'm sorry that I had to do it. And the fact is, as I think Councillor Westrop has just said, we have council business to attend to, and that evening we did not get all of that business finished, as a result of which a fellow councillor who also agreed that there'd been disruption then had to write to me with, again, questions which he had not been able to answer at the meeting because of the disruption caused. So it's affecting council business, and it's just not acceptable.
Councillor Hepworth, thank you. Councillor Pickering.
Was that me there?
Yep, you're there. I can hear you.
I just wondered if it would be helpful to remind councillors of what Standing Order Set 2 says, because it doesn't just refer to unruly behaviour, it covers offensive and improper behaviour.
It does. Thank you. Yeah, I can read that out. I've got it up here. So
yeah, good.
Disorderly conduct at meetings. It says no person shall obstruct the transaction of business at a meeting or behave offensively or improperly. If this standing order is ignored, the chairman of the meeting shall request such a person to moderate or improve their conduct. If the person disregards the request of the chairman of the meeting to moderate or improve their conduct, any councillor or the chairman of the meeting may move that that person be no longer heard or be excluded from the meeting. The motion, if seconded, shall be put to the vote without discussion. And then if a resolution made under Standing Order 2B, which was the one that I've just read out, is ignored, the chairman of the meeting may take further reasonable steps to restore order or to progress the meeting. This may include temporarily suspending or closing the meeting. So that is Standing Orders 2A, B and C, which refer to what we're discussing this evening. And I would propose going forward that we are adhering to the standing orders very tightly, and should any further disruption happen at any meeting, that behaviour will not be tolerated. And I would be asking all of the councillors to speak up and to move to us enacting the standing orders 2A and B going forward. I've got Councillor Hendry, and then I had Councillor Damon, and Councillor Groon, did you have your hand up? No, okay, so Councillor Hendry and then Councillor Damon.
Could I make a formal proposal that we take this matter to the police, because it's not only what happened in the meeting, of which we have a recording, so we can actually prove this, as sometimes it's not possible, but also the offensive posts where councillors were called liars and staff, and that the council itself should put in a complaint to the police, because that would give it more, I think, would give it a bit more weight than just individuals complaining.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Councillor Hendry, and I've got Councillor Damon.
Okay, I was criticised for my actions on that night because I didn't do something, but what I did do was point out to the meeting that you could close the meeting down and evict the person that was causing the problem. Now, I think I've done exactly what I should do as a councillor and a member of this council, to bring them in to disorderly conduct at meetings. Number 2.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Damon. That's helpful. And what I'm calling on is that everybody reads standing orders and becomes very familiar with the standing order number 2 and uses that where appropriate going forward. Councillor Damon.
Right, what I suggest is that every councillor receives a printed copy from the town council of standing orders.
We already have them.
They should already have them, but if you want to, and they are on the website for those of the people who haven't got them.
I've read them now.
Yeah, so
but you know, people say they don't know, but it's there. They should have read them when they first joined the council.
Yeah, I think
when they were amended.
Yeah, I think you can read them, but I have a good working knowledge of kind of standing orders using them. But I think, if any councillor wishes to haven't got a copy or needs a copy, then let us know. And if any councillor has any questions about standing orders or anything in them, then either myself or Elaine as clerk would be more than happy to answer your questions. So I'm just kind of seeing if there are any other kind of comments, questions on this agenda item, then we'll look at how we're going to move this going forward. Okay, I can't see any other questions. So there's a couple of points that I want to pick up on. I think going forward, my proposition would be that any disorderly conduct at meetings or inappropriate behaviour at meetings should be dealt with very swiftly under Standing Order 2, and that I'll be calling on all councillors to help manage that behaviour in all meetings. So that would be my proposition this evening. Jenny, are you seconding, or is that a comment? Second, is that you're on mute? Yeah. So I'm guessing that's a seconder. Was that second? If you second and you just put your thumbs up, it's fine. Yep, fine. That's a seconding. Okay, that's the easy way. Okay, can I get all of those in favour of that proposition this evening? Okay, That is Willow. Is that in favour? Well, I think she's yeah, brilliant. That is every councillor there. Thank you very much. Okay, and then the second point that came out was Councillor Henry's point about whether we refer this to the police for them to investigate in terms of behaviour towards the clerk. I would remind councillors that we do have a duty of care to our employees, and we should be providing them a safe place in which to work going forward. So Councillor Henry, did you want to make a proposition? Yep. Do you want to, yep. So just want to say that again so people can hear it.
That the council forward to the police as a complaint the recording of the meeting on the FNGP meeting,
yeah,
and the posts on Facebook which have insulted both council members and the clerk.
Yeah. Okay, can I get a seconder for that proposal, please? Oh, I've got a couple. I've got Councillor Brighty as a seconder. All those in favour of that proposition? Okay, yep, that's everybody.
Just Frank, I'm not sure.
And Rachel, I think, as well.
Yeah, Frank.
Frank is,
Frank's saying, yeah.
So, and then Nick you've seconded, didn't you? So that's, yep, you've got all of those people. Fine, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 9, to receive and agree terms of reference for the following committee strategy groups. What I am proposing is, because I know there were some queries around the market strategy one, and town hall only came out this morning and neighbourhood plan haven't met yet. So what I was going to seek to do, if members of council are happy with that, is just put that back to next month's meeting. So you have a chance to read the town hall one. Neighbourhood plan will have met and agreed theirs, and the market strategy group will have agreed theirs and brought back. So can I just have a general thumbs up from people if you're happy for me to do that? Yeah, that's
everybody. Kind of John, yeah.
John was there. Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Spot. Sorry, Elaine, did you?
I thought I'd lost Dave, but he's there. He came back.
No, he's up the top. He's shifted around. So yep. So I'll bring that to the maybe put that on the agenda for next month. Okay, agenda item number 10, to discuss signing of the Armed Forces Covenant Pledge, and that is Councillor Hendry's agenda item this evening.
Thank you. I attended a meeting a few weeks ago, and I asked everybody to have a look at the recordings. There is a list of things that you would do, which I haven't actually got to hand at the moment. I'm sorry.
I've got the blurb that came out with the email, if that's helpful, Elizabeth.
Well, if you've got the list of 4 things, because we do 3 already, and it seems to me there are things like helping with the Armistice Day Parade and so on, and it has become quite difficult for ex-servicemen to find houses and to integrate into the community. And actually they come out of the army highly skilled, and we could, if we had signed this covenant, we could be encouraging employers to
employ them,
work hard to employ them, and we could do our best to integrate them. I mean, we have Pride picnic, and perhaps we could have a vets picnic, because I think that would be much better.
Okay.
So I propose that we sign this covenant as soon as possible, please.
Yep. So I've got the thing here, Elizabeth. If you want me to read it out, it says. The Armed Forces Covenant Pledge is a promise from the nation ensuring that those who serve or have served in the armed forces and their families are treated fairly. Signing the pledge is the first meaningful step you can take to support the armed forces community in your local area and to partner with the Ministry of Defence. As a parish or town council, your pledge would include welcoming those military families in your area, ensuring they know where and how to access the services they need. Connecting with the Families Federation is a great way to demonstrate your support, as is marking Remembrance Sunday and taking part in Armed Forces Week. Norfolk County Council and Norfolk Armed Forces Covenant are supporting the Ministry of Defence in promoting the Covenant Pledge among local councils and businesses in Norfolk. So that's kind of the blurb that went with that. I've got Councillor Doyle and then I've got Councillor Groom.
That's it.
Yep, you're there.
I just want to declare an interest. I'm Vice President of the Royal British Legion branch. So I should declare an interest, I think.
Thank you, John. Councillor Groom.
Well, I mean, like Councillor Doyle, I'm a member of the Royal British Legion, so I have to declare an interest. But I mean, a lot, as Councillor Hendry said, a lot of what the pledge is talking about, we already do. Yeah. And I mean, we made a decision as a council quite a few years ago because this is going to sound sort of a bit silly, but the supply of veterans was dwindling because of natural progression and aging, that we as a council would make sure that the pause and remember carried on and things like that. So we have a joint committee already to make sure that happens. So I just think, and I mean, we took great pride a few years ago in having a big parade in the marketplace when the army came back from, I think it was Afghanistan or somewhere, so, I just think it's a wholly right and natural thing to do.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Councillor Pickering.
I haven't got a question. I just totally support what Councillor Groom has just said. I think we should do it.
Yep. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? So, Councillor Damond.
I think we should continue to carry on as we are and try and improve what we already do.
Okay. Thank you. So, any other comments or questions? So, Councillor Hendry, are you proposing that we sign the Armed Forces Covenant Pledge? Would that be your proposition this evening? Okay. So, if you're going to propose that, could I get a seconder for that proposition, please? Oh, I've got Councillor Pickering. I think so. I saw his hand up first. All those in favour of the Town Council sign the covenant? Okay,
everybody, I think.
Is everybody I can see? Thank you. Thank you very much. And we'll progress that forward. Agenda item number 11, to discuss events for 2021 with reference to Action Downham Strategy Group. I have had a conversation with some of the members of the Action Downham Strategy Group, and because we now have the new roadmap of coming out of lockdown, what we felt may be prudent is for Action Downham to kind of meet again and kind of consider the events going forward in light of that new information. And again, we would probably look to bring that back to full council next month after they've had time to consider it and think about what the new roadmap entails and how that may or may not impact the events that we intend to put on during the rest of the year. Are members happy for that to be revisited by Action Downham and then brought back here next month? Okay, is that all? I think that's all a nod. Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. I will put that on the agenda for next time then. Okay, agenda item number 12, to discuss submitting grants to the Sill funding grant. As you know, we kind of touched on this last meeting and asked councillors to come forward with any ideas with regards to grants that we could or items that we could put forward for the funding grant, and we've got a number of items that have come through. We've got market starter kits, bistro tables and chairs, purchase of decorative lights and Downham Market branding. Some of these have come through the meeting with the traders. The Downham Market branding was raised at the traders meeting last Wednesday and has come forward from them, and we thought that that was a good idea to kind of have a look at kind of branding the town as a whole, including the market. So there was one kind of corporate face going forward, and the traders seem to be quite keen on that. The market starter kits was something again that had been discussed in the strategy group and mentioned to the traders around if somebody wanted to trial becoming a trader for a while, then they could have a starter kit that would provide them with everything that they needed to kind of get them up and running. And having spoken to some of the other markets and the National Authority for Markets, then that's something that they do elsewhere, and it's proved to be quite successful. We had the purchase of decorative lights, again, for other events that we might want to put on around the town at other times other than Christmas. We might want to make it look quite nice. So again, you know, if events over the summer, so we kind of had that one on there, and I think that was raised at the last time's meeting. And we had the bistro tables and chairs because we thought around going forward we may want to put on events in the town hall that may wish to spill out onto the town square. I'm looking at Councillor Pyatt's face to make sure I get the wording right, and the town square, and people may want to sit, and you know, if we've got events on in the town hall, they may wish to spill out in that area. And I think if we had our own like bistro, and I know when we've had the festival week, we've had the French cafe, and that would be useful for those kind of things and for other events that we put on going through the year. So these were kind of the ones that we put down as a starter for 10. We're open to other suggestions if anybody has anything else tonight. So I've got Councillor Damon and then we've got Councillor Pyatt.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What are we doing with the potato oven, the gazebo, and the 2 tables we purchased?
We will be using them at some point when we're allowed to have events to use them.
I just wondered why we bought them.
Because the plan is that they will be used going forward and tied into some of the events that I think Action Dan were planning to kind of use going forward. So that was why they were.
Was it because
I think, Becky, also to be fair,
yeah,
so we were talking about those events would mingle into the market, so it would become one and the same. That was also another angle of having some of that stuff.
Okay, and I've got Councillor, I think I had Councillor Pyatt and then Councillor Hepworth.
Are we restricted to what we can ask Sill to give us?
Well, you can ask as many times as you want. In each category, there is a limit of money. So I've got to fiddle that around a little,
Right.
adjust that a little bit. But we can apply as many times as we want. So I would say let's put all in and see which ones they rather like the sound of.
We all seem to forget the building that we own, which is the JCC and the boxing club thing. We all seem to forget that when we claim for Sill money. Surely we should be able to claim for some money to help repair the JCC. I know it's not the JCC building, it belongs to the town council. So therefore you can't say, well, that's to do with the JCC committee.
It won't.
It's
The fund won't be for buildings. It's not for buildings. It's not for buildings or staff costs or things like that. So I think that's why. I will just say we did get £10,000 for the JCC at the beginning of lockdown.
Yeah.
Okay,
so, I mean,
can we use it?
Yeah, I think there are some criteria about what it can and can't be used for. Hence why we've gone for things like tangible items like chairs, tables.
Some of those are a little bit on, you know, it'll depend if they get, the feeling was they weren't going to get loads of applications, so they would then spread out the criteria more. So that's why I think we can have a go.
I'm sorry, is this the funding that we've already got or funding we're asking for?
It's a grant application form that comes out of Sill money.
Yeah. So this is extra. So this is an application for money to come out of Sill. So they're grants that are available that we haven't applied for, but we can apply for. So it was our feeling that we try to apply for as much as possible for as many things as possible, and then see what we got, because there were some really good ideas. there.
They must want some table and chairs in there, surely, or something in the JCC. We keep forgetting that building. Go on, Dave, shout at it.
No, I think the difficulty is that the JCC, although the building belongs to the town council, it is run by the charity, but we'll need to have a look at that and see what we can do, and if there's any way that we can.
I'm not sure it's going to be a charity. I'll have to.
Yeah, so we'll have a look and see what we can come up with, and if there's any way that we can do that, and then get the trustees, if need be, to look at that, and then get
They're
that.
running out of time a little bit.
Okay.
Because you know it's the end of April, but there's loads of work to do each application. It's not just bung it in.
So we'll do that. I've got Councillor Groom. Councillor Hendry, did I see your hand up a minute ago? Yep. Okay. So I'll go to Councillor Hendry, then Councillor Groom.
Actually, I was going to ask about the time limit, because I know that even the Sill that we have is time limited, and every application has a time limit. So if it's the end of April, I think we need to okay these now and ask the clerk if she can manage to fit all that into her workload in the next couple of months.
Okay, thanks, Elizabeth. Councillor Groom.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, I think the idea of rebranding is a really good one, and I think very important, because I think we're moving into a new phase, particularly after this lockdown situation. And I mean, with various things happening around us, I mean, we're looking to hopefully promote the town as a tourist destination. So rebranding would be really useful. I mean, could you use the fund to actually do leaflets and things for town trails and stuff like that? Elaine?
I think trails, yeah, I'm just trying to find the criteria. I just had it and then something else happened. I think trails you could do, yes, because there's a bit in. I mean, all of it's going to be slightly adjusted to the criteria when we submit it, obviously.
I mean, something like that, you know, actually walks around the town, walks in the surrounding area using the town as a base, all of those sort of things. I mean, if we could actually get some town trails and stuff also promoted, that would be good.
So are we happy then, kind of thinking about how to take this forward, are we happy that we put in the applications for the 4 that we've got listed currently, but then equally, if we can put application in, and I appreciate Elaine's time, for trails, that we also do that, and if there's any way, once Elaine's found the criteria, whether the JCC could consider that, then we'll push that forward as well. Are people happy with that? Councillor Damon?
I'm concerned about these decorative lights. I'm sorry. Who's going to install these and look after them and make sure they're okay?
So that would be part of it. So what we would be proper decorative lights. They wouldn't be, Charlie would probably know a bit more about this, they're not going to be a bung a battery in one. They're going to be proper ones that could be almost like the plug-in ones that you can just kind of plug in and have up. And we did talk about it.
I'm not sure where you're going to hang them.
Well, I think you can just plug them in and you can hang. We talked about hanging them around market stalls. That seemed to go down quite well. Hanging them around gazebos going forward. And then round, if we had things in the town hall, you could use them around there.
Yeah, okay.
So that was kind of what we had in mind. I've got Councillor Hepworth.
I wondered if we could have this as a regular agenda item, because it seems to me that what we need when the funding round comes on stream is a whole repertoire of oven-ready projects, and there really isn't time when the grant round is announced to work up these projects from scratch, and we need to have thought about them in advance and got several suggestions that we've perhaps pulled to pieces and discussed and looked at in detail beforehand. So as soon as the Borough Council announced they've got another funding pot we can bid for, we have all our projects already lined up. Because although I've got lots of things I'd like to think about, particularly footpaths and things like that, there's no point raising those today because poor Elaine isn't going to be able to investigate them and come up with another proposal by April. But it is to sort of have an ongoing discussion.
But that is the purpose of your budget meeting. Yeah. You are forecasting forward and you're getting the projects that you want 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 years. And I don't think that the council's actually been ever trained in, if that's the best word to use. So you should all have your foresight of what you're trying to get to, and then you know, as the funding comes in, that would either take on, or else you budget for it year on year.
Yeah.
That's how a good council would sort of operate. But I see what you're saying, but it's really too late if we just depend on the grant funding. If we think there are things we should be doing, they should be sort of logged into a whole forward plan of financial planning, really.
Mhm.
I can't see Alan, he's probably giving me the eye.
No, he's not. And
He's all right.
I do wonder as well whether that might be something that and when we kind of come under to discuss agenda item 13, which is to consider the setting up of a town partnership, whether going forward that kind of piece of work may well fall underneath there, because the idea of the town partnership is it would be the whole of the kind of community as a partnership looking forward at those kind of ideas. So that might naturally, it's me thinking off the top of my head, sit underneath that piece of work. I've got Councillor Westrop.
Yes, it's just picking up the point that Councillor Hepworth was making. I think one of the emergent themes out of the neighbourhood plan is not only looking at the part of that neighbourhood plan which is around planning, building design and all the rest of it, but also actually a series of aspirations which is around environment, footpaths, tree planting, supporting business development and tourism. There are about half a dozen different things that have emerged that have very little to do with actual planning, but everything to do with the health and life of the town. And I suspect that when we've gone through consultation and the plan is actually sort of adopted, hopefully in the next sort of 12 to 18 months, the actual sort of project work that's suggested actually can come out of that and feed into various streams of council work, really, at the end of the day, such as planning, action down, and actually the town partnership. Because, as I say, this piece of work has actually developed quite a good set of legs in terms of all the other issues that we could be addressing. So I think there is, what I would suggest is that there is a natural sort of groundswell of that to actually take forward over the next 1, 2, 3 years. It's quite exciting, really.
And I think we just need to kind of find where best fits that, because I do like the idea of kind of being proactive and thinking about that. So you do always have, as Councillor Hepworth said, some kind of off the peg. Let's put this one in this time because actually it meets the criteria, and I think that would be really helpful for us. I've got Councillor Hendry and I've got Elaine. Did you just want to come in first?
I just wanted to quickly say I found it now. So there's 3 sort of bits of it. So 60% of the money will be strategic infrastructure projects, so education related to 18+ employment, transport, environment. 20% of it are community projects, which is between 10 and 50,000. Education, health, economic development. Economic development, I think we could fit into the Downham Market branding if we worded it well.
And the market kits as well.
Yes, yeah. And then the last one, which is probably where most people will come in, so perhaps we want to steer a little clear of that if we can fit it in somewhere else: community facilities, green infrastructure, open space and leisure, and community transport, and they're between 2 and 10.
Okay, so we might be able to fit some of the other ones in
community facilities, I think.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah,
maybe the ground investment.
Hold on, Councillor Damon. I'll just go to Councillor Hendry, then I'll come back to you in a second. Councillor Hendry.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a pot of several £1,000s for Sill at the moment, and we have not discussed, as far as I know, what we might do with that. And if we don't do it in time, we will forfeit that money.
Yeah, and we have discussed it, Elizabeth, to come in there, and I think it was the clock, wasn't it, Alan?
Sorry? It was the clock, yes.
Yeah. We stole it for the clock, which we thought would be last year, but obviously, hopefully, will be this year. It's all programmed for this year.
Okay.
Okay, Councillor Damon.
All I was going to say is that we do have the land at the Hatterdale Community Centre that is sports orientated.
Yeah.
Perhaps that could go into Sill money.
Okay, I've got Councillor Westrop.
That's it. That's all I've got to say.
Yeah, I think it's a nice idea, Councillor Damon, but I think one of the things that we have to be really careful about is that is a fields in trust site, and the minute that you actually start limiting the sort of access to that to one particular activity, we could be in difficulties. I know you may disagree with me on that one, but I would be very sort of worried.
We have the field. I didn't say what specific we were going to use it for.
Okay,
No,
so I think
it's open access, Frank. You can't sort of you can't narrow it down, can you? Anyway.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop that, because actually that's a conversation for the JCC to have, not full council to have, because it's not us as full council, it is us as
Sorry, that's all right then. Okay.
That's a conversation for a different day. So just kind of getting us back. Are you happy then if we go with what I suggested in terms of putting in the grants for those, and then looking to see if there's other ones that we can put in, and then kind of, you know, going and seeing what we can get, you know, as much as possible. So are you happy if we charge Elaine to kind of do that?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I propose that, can I just get a seconder for Councillor Hendry? All those in favour of that and applying for those grants?
So that's items 1 to 4 plus the town trails, is that right?
Yeah,
we're proposing.
Have a little look at just to see offline about whether the JCC can apply for something.
I think you probably can, but obviously we'd need to have a meeting to discuss what they want to do. We should have one before the end of April. I could have some ideas ready for the meeting, so we could just slot it in if everyone's happy. We
could do that. Okay. Councillor Groom, did you have a question?
No, I've just spoken, that's all. Sorry.
Okay, got you. Okay, so thank you for that. We'll move on to agenda item number 13, which is to discuss and consider a setting up of a town partnership. Town partnerships are initiatives that are run successfully in other towns, and it is something that has been recommended to us by the National Association of
British Market
Authorities, as part of their kind of work with us. They suggested it might be something that we wanted to look into, and what the kind of partnership would be looking to work with kind of businesses, the market, and other people that we felt might be beneficial for us to kind of forge those links with, and to develop a partnership with them to work together going forward. Elaine, is there anything that you wanted to kind of say, because you've kind of spoke to the
no, I think it's a positive thing. It is for the market, you know, we're not anti-market, we're very pro-market, pro-shop owners, and also the other things that make up our community. So you bring in things like libraries and different little businesses, big businesses, and not just shops, businesses, you know, solicitors, accountants. And when you start doing a list, which is something we've been working on, there are a huge amount of scope, and we're not reaching those people, and that sort of is where the branding will come into it. So it's usually officer led, and I think that's quite important. It's officer led, and then everything comes back to the council. And I just think we need to investigate it. It seems to be something that helps get funding, and also helps bring everybody together as much as you can, all the different parts of the town. We're not concentrating on just one. It would be all the parts that make our town, our community.
And I think, picking up on Rachel's point, that would perhaps also help us to think about, you know, as a community, what kind of grants that we wanted to put in for to help kind of all those elements.
And they do like town partnerships to give funding too, because it kind of is consultative and encompassing. So that is quite a niche thing they like.
Ticks the boxes. I've got Councillor Pyatt, and then I've got Councillor Groom.
Can we bring in the surgeries we used to run once the COVID obviously allows us to do that? Can we bring that in onto it, so that we got the public, we can say, look, this is what we would like to do, this is the way we'd like to do it, and make use of the surgery for that, to consult with the public who are interested in the town.
Yeah, I think the first step would be that I would kind of be asking Elaine to do would be to go away and look at how successful town partnerships work in other places, to look at the people that they've got involved, how they set them up, and to report back to us with a document about what that looks like, who we should consider, the way that we promote that, for us to kind of have a thorough discussion about at a future full council meeting would be kind of my suggestion, so we have a worked up idea of actually what it looks like and how it could work in practice, learning the the good lessons from other places who have got successful town partnerships. Councillor Groom, I've got you next.
Well, yes, I'd like to say I fully support the idea of taking something like this forward, and I think actually now is a really good time, because the whole town and the whole community has just been through a terrible year, and I mean businesses and everybody needs support. And I would say too that historically as a town we actually do things like this really well. The Regeneration Partnership, which was started about 99, 2000, went on for about 10 years, and you had a fantastic partnership there of all sorts of different members of the community, businesses and all the rest of it, and it encouraged a huge amount of investment in the town as well. I mean, yes, you've got the physical thing of the regeneration, the physical regeneration, but it actually was also about economic regeneration. And I think if we can get a team, sort of a partnership together, then that will help with the economic regeneration of the town, as well as all sorts of other things as well. It can only bring good to the town. It really can, in my opinion. And partnerships, has already been said, if you've got a group of different partners working together, it attracts funding. It's much easier to get funding, serious funding, if you've got a variety of different partners.
Yeah, brilliant.
That's all. I just think it is. I think we would be very remiss if we didn't pursue this.
Yeah. Thanks, Jenny. I think it's really helpful. Any other questions or comments on that? Rachel, Councillor Hepworth.
Just to say, this sounds like a thoroughly good idea and a source of a lot of new ideas and energy, a focus for communication and teamwork, which would be an excellent thing.
Councillor Hepworth. So can I propose then that we task Elaine, to go away and investigate this further, and then bring back a report to full council as to how we can take this forward and how we can go about setting up a town partnership. So if I propose that, can I get Jackie, are you happy to second it? Thank you. All those in favour of that proposal? That's everybody.
Elizabeth?
Yeah, her hand's just
her hand's in a different corner. Yeah, I think it was everybody.
Thank you for that.
Better say. No.
We'll look forward to hearing that back from you. Agenda item number 14 is to discuss review the COVID ranges on the market. So obviously this has been an ongoing agenda item, and we always said that we would review it in light of the government guidance going forward. The government guidance has now changed, and we now have a new roadmap with things opening up going forward. And since our last discussion about the COVID ranges, our staff, internal staff, have now been trained to be able to fulfil that role. They've all successfully completed their COVID Ranger training. So one of the things that I am kind of suggesting going forward this evening would be that we perhaps look to reduce the COVID Rangers and have a transition period whereby we phased out the COVID Rangers that we are currently contracting in, and would look to use our own staff to fulfill that role, and kind of keep reviewing that in line with the government guidance going forward. As we're now coming out to lockdown, I think now may be a good time to do that. Now we have our own staff who are able to fulfill that kind of role. So that's kind of my thoughts on the situation, but I'm opening it up to questions, comments, thoughts. Councillor Pickering.
Well, I entirely agree. I think they've done a good job. They've been seen around the town, seen around the market, and people feel safe. But the guidance that's coming out from government and the figures that are coming out from government are that infection rates are falling, the number of people in hospital is falling quite dramatically. Unfortunately, there's still a fairly large number of deaths that's far too high, but nevertheless, it does look as if the vaccine that people are having is beginning to take effect. And if the staff have now had proper training, then I would suggest that we do it as soon as possible. Maybe this is the last weekend of the COVID Rangers where they could be a sort of a handover, and we could then move forwards with the following week with the staff doing it.
Yeah, thank you.
That would be my proposal.
Okay, thank you. I've got Councillor Damon and then I've got Councillor Pyatt.
Yes, my question is, do the COVID Rangers have to be given a period of notice?
Contractually, Elaine?
No, I don't think so. I think it would be right not to say don't come tomorrow, wouldn't it? It would be morally right.
That's
But,
right after.
yeah, but we're not under any contractual thing. No, but we would need to phase in.
Yeah,
we have to declare a fair amount of time to know.
yeah. And I think it would be fair to have a transition kind of period going forward. I've got Councillor Pyatt next.
If we've now got our staff trained, and we have got still the offer of the marshals from the borough, I think it is time that we now moved on and allowed them to go. They've done their job, they've done it as well as they could, and I think it's now time. So I would suggest that if we give them a fortnight notice and let them go, and we carry on and hope we can, if we don't need them in the future and this COVID and everything else goes away. But I think it's now time that we did that. And I would propose that if you would like it to be.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Pyatt. I've got Councillor Westrop.
Just a sort of point of clarity, really. The borough COVID Rangers, actually, don't they fulfil a different function, Elaine, to the ones that we employ?
Yeah. So they very much worked with our Rangers. It was very much we spoke to them about it. So they tend to be going around actually targeting people who are not keeping to the rules around and looking at shops who are doing it differently. So they worked in with us, but they won't be coming and patrolling our market in the same way. I think is that what you understood, Becky, from our meetings with Brian?
Yeah,
it's a different function, but they will still be in Downham.
So what kind of our meetings with the borough was that the COVID Rangers or the COVID marshals from borough would enhance what we currently have, but they wouldn't be able to provide the levels of support to the market like our ones were, and because they have the whole of West Norfolk to cover, and we're just one of many places within West Norfolk, so I think they would continue as long as borough having them to provide that additional support to us. But our staff would be very much performing the function around the market going forward and fulfilling that kind of role that the current kind of Rangers have been doing and doing really well. And I think one of the things that we'd want to make sure that we're reassuring the public around is actually there won't be any kind of drop in our kind of levels of making sure that people are kept safe. You know, we do have a roadmap out of lockdown, but we are not at the point where those measures are being relaxed just at this moment. So, you know, the levels will remain the same because our priority has and always will be the safety of the public residents of Downham Market and the safety of the market traders and the businesses and our staff going forward. And I think we mustn't lose sight of that they're there to make sure people are kept safe. And as Councillor Pyatt says, you know, hopefully going forward, you know, we won't need them there to keep people safe. But I think, you know, whilst we do, I think it's a good time to switch over now to using our own staff. So, did I have any? Councillor Doyle.
I'd just like to second Councillor Pyatt's proposal.
And that was phasing out over sort of a 2 to 3 week, depending on how it is.
Yeah. Okay.
So we knew what the proposal was.
So that was Councillor Pyatt, that's Councillor Doyle. Councillor Hendry, did you have any questions or thoughts or comments? Or okay, so I've got a proposer and I've got a seconder. All those in favour of that proposal at this moment in time? Okay, that's everybody apart from Joe. Rachel. Yeah, that's everybody. Yeah, that was everybody.
Yeah, everybody.
Thank you very much. Okay, agenda item number 15, to receive an update on the neighbourhood plan, Councillor Hendry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm very happy to report that we are very close to finishing the first draft. Well, no, it's the second draft. I imagine that it'll be about 6 more meetings and we should have it wrapped up, at which point, as soon as we can take it for public consultation, we will do. And that will be the whole thing moving forward to actually finally establishing and sending it to the inspector. May I also mention here that there is a government consultation about a design code, a national design code, and the answer has to be in by the 27th of March. We heard about it just over a week ago, and there is not time for the full council to send off a response, because you wouldn't have been able to do it this time and next time is too late. So I'm asking if full council will delegate making the response to the neighbourhood plan committee, because actually we have quite a few people on the committee who really know a lot about this. And for instance, we have Julie Davey, who was in charge of the previous design statement for Downham Market. So I think this is a very well qualified committee to do it.
Yep, no, I was going to kind of, you beat me to it, because obviously the document for the design code was sent round. It's my understanding that Elaine hasn't really had any, I think there's one response come back, and obviously because we are short on time, it would make sense for neighbourhood plan to coordinate the response back with regards to that design code. But obviously because it is a meeting, it's a kind of the sort of group meeting, that actually other members of the council could go as a member of the public if they wished to that meeting, if they wanted to kind of feed into that. You know, if the chair was happy to take kind of comments and questions, and if councillors had an interest in that, then they would be more than welcome to do that. Just think for the purposes of time and to get a timely response back in before the closing date, it would make sense to discharge that down to neighbourhood plan to submit a response on behalf of the town council. So I've got so that would be my proposal.
Thank you, Mayor.
Is somebody happy to second that proposal for me? Oh, Councillor Westrop. Okay, all of those in favour that we delegate that down to neighbourhood plan? Yep, that's everybody bar.
Oh no, yes, Frank.
Late. Yeah, no, brilliant. Thank you very much for that. And it's kind of any comments or questions to Councillor Hendry on her update on the neighbourhood plan at all? No. Okay, thank you, Councillor Hendry. We got on the agenda to receive a report on the Fenn Biosphere project. I think we agreed that we would defer that to next meeting, Councillor Groom, or did you want to kind of talk about that?
I can. I was going to prepare a paper for next meeting, but I can talk about it now if you'd like. So it's
well, no, I'm happy if you wish to prepare a paper and bring it, and that gives councillors kind of time to digest it. I think just kind of heading councillors up, I think it's a really important thing, and I think, you know, we and councillor
I mean, if I could just say,
give an overview of it, so then we can kind of bring it back next time.
Yeah, but as a trailer to a more detailed report, the Fenn Biosphere project is an application which has been put in for the area to become a UNESCO site, and it would be one of 26 in the world. It would be a protected site of particular interest, and we as a town, or the borough, and we as a town council have expressed an interest in being part of it, because Downham Market is actually is a buffer to the actual area, the geographical area.
I'm sorry, Downham Market is a gateway to it.
hold on, Frank. Let Jenny finish.
Yeah, I understand what you said. It's a gateway to the Fens, Frank. But as far as this biosphere, and I will go into more detail about that in the document, so you can actually sort of read it. It's actually a buffer. It's protecting the biosphere from other influences. So the impact for us as a community is quite extraordinary. And going forward, you're looking at sort of increases in things like tourism and all sorts of footfall. So it's really important. And I will give you more details in the paper. Three of us went actually to the conference about it. So, you know, there's
just picking up on that, obviously, Councillor Westropp, I certainly know that the Cambridgeshire councils and unitary councils are taking this very seriously and are pushing it very vigorously going forward, and very supportive of the biosphere happening. So, you know, I think it would be really good for us to look to see, you know, what the implications are for us and how we can, you know, work with that going forward. And I look forward to receiving your paper, Jenny. Councillor Westropp.
Yeah, I mean, two very small things. Just to say that actually it was picked up by neighbourhood planning because of the impact that it would have on the town, both in terms of structure and in terms of things like tourism and economic development. As I say, it's part of that sort of aspiration type thing. And I'm not sure, Councillor Grimm, whether or not the conference is still available online, is it? Because it's well worth having a look, really, at the end of the day. And whether or not actually the link is still available, and whether or not, if it is still available, it could be circulated to colleagues to actually have a look at it.
I'll find out.
Yeah, because as I say, it was an extraordinarily it was a very well worthwhile conference. Basically, IT problems notwithstanding, it was very, very good.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Hendry.
Okay, I'm the third person who went to this conference, and I do agree it was absolutely excellent and fascinating. And if there isn't anything else, there is in the email that we sent round to councillors asking them to look at it, there is a YouTube 12-minute film about the first biosphere, which is in Scotland, in the UK, and what they do and how that is progressing and how much that is improving the communities and everything about it. It's just making a huge difference to business as well. And we could really do with that sort of a push from the biosphere.
Yeah, no, excellent. So thank you for that, councillors, and we'll look forward to receiving your paper next meeting. Jenny, thank you for that. So moving on to agenda item number 17, which is items for the next agenda. We've got quite a few from today that we've deferred. So we will have the biosphere, we have the action down events.
And the strategy group papers.
Yeah, and the thank you, and the terms of references go on the next agenda. Anything else?
Will you want us reporting back about the consultation, just formally giving the council the answer that they've already given?
Yeah, no, that'd be really helpful, Elizabeth. We'll put that on as well. And I've got Councillor Pyatt.
I'm just concerned about the clock. I think we ought to put that on the agenda because we're pushing the time when they'll be allowed to do the job. And what I don't want is to have a bodge up job because they've had to rush to do it. I'd rather ask them to delay it a little longer than push it too early, because the market is going to be on the square on a Friday and a Saturday.
So we'll work about that, because we might have some events and stuff that we need to kind of think about going forward. And I don't quite know with the COVID and how COVID goes with the lockdown and the coming out of lockdown about what they can do, because obviously part of the issue is that we need to maintain their safety going forward. So I think we'll need to have a look at that and just see what happens going forward, and look at the clock. So we can certainly put the clock on the agenda for next time and take that from there. The other thing that I just wanted to mention was, obviously under the COVID guidance last year we didn't have an annual town meeting, so we will probably be looking to put that on in April, because I think that makes sense, and that's traditionally when it's kind of been held. So we will look to do that in April, but we'll advise you, you know, we'll put it on the agenda for April's meeting to kind of have a bit more, but we'll kind of look to put that on probably towards the end of April, because that makes sense and it enables us to have an annual town meeting, because again we can do it via Zoom, whereas a face-to-face one wouldn't be allowed at the moment within the timeframes that we currently have for the annual town meeting. So we'll advise that. So can that go on the agenda for next time as well, Elaine, please?
I don't think it's actually an agenda item because it's just set, but I'll put it on, but I don't think it needs to be.
Okay, well I can do it. I could do it under mayor's announcements, couldn't I, or something like that?
Yeah, no, that's fine, because it's not really to discuss. It's got to be done.
Yeah,
and it's always done in April. Just we didn't have one last.
So we just the dates. Don't think
the only thing. The only thing was next full council is the Tuesday after Easter Monday.
Yeah,
so
I was then going to mention that.
I wasn't sure if you
next thing. So I was going to do under the date. If there's no other items for agenda item number 17, I was going to move on to date of the next meeting to be held via Zoom. Well, normally it is the first Tuesday of the month, which will be the Tuesday after Easter Monday, and obviously the office will be closed on the Friday and the Monday, so it might make sense for us to move full council to the second Tuesday in the month. I don't know what meeting we've got.
Well, it will be Action Downham, but they may be willing to change, to swap.
Maybe, yeah, I think that might make.
Jackie's willing, good.
Okay, so what we'll do then, so what date does that make that in?
So that would make the 13th would be full council, and Action Downham would be the 6th.
Yeah. Okay, so if
Action Downham's at 6, full council, and then you could look, if you wanted to start looking, you could look at the 20th for annual towns, because the 27th is finance, but I'm sure finance would swap with us.
No, I mean I'm quite happy to have you know, look to kind of diary that one in at the moment, where if we had the full council on the 13th and then the annual town meeting on the 20th.
It makes sense to keep it to the Tuesday somehow, doesn't it?
Yeah. And what was there a meeting scheduled in for that?
No, not the 20th. The next one is finance on the 27th. So
okay,
we can clear.
That would work well.
Yeah, we'll put them in. We can put them to a different day or something on the odd one.
Those in, and then we will kind of get that out. And for councillors who weren't here previously, who haven't experienced an annual town meeting, they do run slightly differently. So if anybody wants to know more about them, speak to either me or Elaine, because they are slightly different to
They are not our meetings. They are actually for the town. They're the town's meetings.
They are the town's meetings, so they run slightly differently. So we'll kind of, if anybody wants to know more, speak to Elaine. So
hard hats are provided.
Yeah,
Charlie. Yeah.
It's fine by Zoom, Charlie. You don't need them.
Trust me, you'll need them.
Okay, so as that is all my business this evening, look at that. I will make a miracle. I will close the meeting at 20:38. Thank you all for attending, and I will see you in April.
Okay.